712-795. You're a second class offender. Parole eligibility date 9/2/2020. Good time date 9/30/2021. Full term date 9/3/2029. 12-year sentence. Vehicular homicide. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Please answer Mr. Marabella's questions.
Morning, Mr. Chapman. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Mr. Chapman, how long have you been in prison this time?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yes, sir.
What sort of, tell me a little bit about your drinking. When did you start drinking?
Pretty young age. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I mean, I don't want to blame it on anything, but it's kind of a drinking culture. Been drinking.
Understand. I'm familiar with it. I lived there for a while. So tell me a little bit about what you started drinking and what age were you?
I was probably 14, 15, sneaking beer out the ice chest, you know.
How did you progress from that? How often were you drinking?
By the time I was 16, working at a little pizza joint, I was probably drinking every night after. I was still in school, high school, but I would drink every night after that, after work.
All right. You got a DWI in September of 2014 in Scott, right?
Yeah, I was arrested on it, yes, sir.
Okay. How old were you then?
I was probably about 22.
How much were you drinking then? What was your drinking habits the day when you got arrested for DWI?
At that time, I would drink every night.
What were you drinking?
Mainly whiskey.
Okay. How about drugs? What kind of drugs, if any, were you using?
At one point, I did get bad off on lower tabs, pain pills.
Now, when you got the DWI in 2014, you got arrested, went to jail, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you bond out?
Correct.
Were you required to take any sort of substance abuse evaluation, do any kind of treatment at that point?
No, sir. The charge eventually got dropped. It was pretty much in a private parking lot.
Okay. Those charges were still pending when you got arrested for this vehicular homicide, though, wasn't it? So
yes,
we can
sir.
discuss all day why you didn't get prosecuted for that. Let's talk about the vehicular homicide. What were you drinking on that particular night?
Tequila.
Had you ever had any sort of treatment whatsoever for alcohol or drugs before that night?
No, sir.
How much tequila had you been drinking?
It was during the day. It was at a Mardi Gras parade. I honestly don't remember. You know, I remember drinking the tequila, but as far as an amount, I couldn't tell you.
Were you drinking like that every day?
Not during the day. I was still working and everything, but at night, I would drink a lot at night.
Do you consider yourself to be an alcoholic?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So tell me the kind of treatment that you've undergone. You went to prison. When was that? In 2016?
Correct.
While you were in prison, you pled guilty. You were given a 12-year sentence, 5 of which, all but 5 were suspended. So you went to prison for the equivalent of 5 years. You paroled out, but you went to prison for the equivalent of 5 years. What programs did you take while you were in there?
I took reentry, which involves KITE program. That's a substance abuse.
Okay. And what did you learn?
As far as my main thing I learned was, one is too many. I would fool myself for a long time and say, I'm not gonna drink this much. I can handle it. I can just drink a couple. And unfortunately, you know, that's not the case. Obviously, some people can do that, drink a couple and put it down. But as far as myself, you know, 9 times out of 10 is going to progress to something bad.
When did you get released on parole?
2018.
When in 2018?
October 8th, I believe.
You got released?
Excuse me, October 8th, 2017.
Okay. So you had been out for about a year before you got arrested for these new charges.
Correct.
Were you going to AA meetings? Were you doing anything then?
Yes, sir. I got out on parole and probation.
Correct.
Part of my probation was to go to AA meetings and as well as go speak in front of a group every Saturday.
Did you do those things?
Yes, sir.
So what happened? What is it, how is it that you got arrested for possession of Schedule II drugs, possession of a firearm, illegal carrying of a weapon with a controlled dangerous substance, possession with intent to distribute Schedule III, drug paraphernalia, and possession with intent to distribute Schedule I?
Yes, sir. I mean,
You killed a lady and severely injured two other people. Your car that you were driving hit her car, which caused it to hit another car and to explode and killed her and injured her two daughters. You ran a .20 BAC, which is 3 times the normal limit for drunk. You went to prison, you took some programs, you come back out, and you get charged and plead guilty to you get charged with all of these offenses.
yes, sir.
So tell me, why should I vote to let you out? I know you're going to federal prison, but why should I vote to let you out, to parole you?
I understand everything you're saying, sir. My main thing is just I wanted to get to federal prison, and from what I understand, there's a lot of vocational classes and just better education and rehabilitation programs in general over here.
Well, what happened while you were on probation and parole for a year? I mean, you obviously didn't straighten out.
No, sir.
You had all kinds of drugs,
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely.
guns.
I
You
definitely,
were back drinking.
not drinking, but I was doing drugs. Yes, sir.
You had a scram bracelet on you too, huh?
Correct.
They could detect the alcohol, but maybe not the drugs.
That's correct.
So you were sharp enough to realize you couldn't drink. You had to start back on something else.
Yes, sir.
So how has that changed as you sit here today? I understand you want some programs, and I appreciate that. How has that changed today?
Unfortunately, I told myself for a while I was ready to change, but I wasn't. I got out for a while and did all right, and I mean, eventually I went back to it. I never intended, obviously, for things to play out like they did. But I pray that this time I really changed and I really can stay away from it. I have,
Mr. Chapman, you have law enforcement opposition. You have victim family opposition. I don't know what happened back in 2016 when you pled guilty, but I'm here to tell you, as a longtime experienced person in the criminal justice system, that sentence that you received, 5 years, all but 5 years suspended on the crime, the horrible crime that you committed, was a very, very light sentence.
yes, sir.
And I suspect that the victim's family consented to that. And then you turn around, get out, and go back to doing the same thing. So what programs did you take that didn't work? I mean, what's the next step? Where do you go from here?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say the programs didn't work. I don't think I took the opportunity. I don't think I really took them serious enough and got what I needed to get out of them.
So you're asking me to parole you so you can go to a less restrictive environment in federal prison, because most everybody thinks federal prison is a lot better than state prison. So that's basically what you're asking me to do. Don't require me to do that sentence that I was required to do when I was drunk behind the wheel and killed that lady. Why should I do that?
I'm not trying to get out the sentence. I didn't look at it like that. I mean, my outdate's not going to change either way.
Have you tried to get into any programs while you've been in prison this time?
Yes, sir.
What have you tried to get into?
I'm in substance abuse, and tomorrow's the last day, actually.
So what have you learned while you've been in that substance abuse program?
We talk about all the signs as far as just certain things, negative emotional states, isolation, not having an adequate support group, different things that basically say it's not necessarily the drugs and alcohol. That's just hard. That's the solution, but there's deeper problems, obviously, for why people do use drugs and alcohol. Like I said, usually that's just, that's their solution, but the problems are a lot deep-seated than that.
How far did you go in school?
I graduated high school.
Okay. What kind of work were you doing?
Plumbing work.
You're a plumber?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long you been a plumber?
For a while, my uncle had a construction business. So at 13, 14, I was, going to help him out.
So you've been working in the plumbing field for a long time. That's very good. That's a very good profession.
Yes, sir.
You can do very well in that field. Is that something that you hope to continue to do?
It's definitely good knowing that it's always there, that I have that. And 9 times out of 10 I can just go get a job. It's a blessing.
Mr. Chapman, you're a very young man. You've got a lot of years left to you. I hope that you get the programming that you need. I think it's significant that you realize, and I think you do now, that you're an alcoholic and probably a drug addict.
Oh,
and need some treatment and to be able to stay on top of that. Do you have children?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Those are the only questions I have.
Hey, Mr. Wise.
I have no questions. Mr. Marabella did an excellent job. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
No, sir. I mean, obviously, I felt like I had a good conversation. Anything I could have said, already came out in the conversation.
All right. Panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bella?
Mr. Chapman, it's not my role to try to make you feel bad, and I may have in some of my questions, but this is serious business. I mean, what the crime you committed and your disease has caused a death, and it's caused a lot of grief on behalf of their family. They are certainly opposed to your release. You had a moderate risk factor to reoffend, and you're an alcoholic and probably a drug addict. But it sounds like you're a young man with some sense who has maybe got himself on the right track. And I think that's important and that's critical. And you're right, there always are underlying factors as to why people use drugs and use alcohol. Many of us are addicted to drugs because of some chemical balance in our bodies or alcohol. Others do it just to escape reality. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is with you. You seem to recognize that. Now it's time for you to get some treatment to be able to deal with those things. And I certainly hope that you can do that. We have excellent programs within the Department of Corrections. I don't know what the feds have, but I know what we have. And I'm going to encourage you to try to get into some of those really good programs to help you. My vote today is going to be to deny you, but I hope that you continue on your path that you look like you now are charting to get some treatment and to get some help. So good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Wise.
Sir, when I was reading your case material and I got down to that part where you wrote that you want to get to the federal prison because of the benefits, and that's a true addict. He wants what's best for him, and that's and you're not afraid to ask for it. But that's the heart of a true addict. So my vote is to deny for the reasons already been stated on the record.
You have 2 votes to deny your parole. Again, you're working hard. You're saying the right things. I think you're turning the corner. It's now it's left up to you to figure out what your triggers are, figure out getting some good classes and do what you need to do. But because of moderate Tiger score, law enforcement opposition, victim opposition, I vote to deny as well today. 3 votes to deny. Your parole's been denied. It's 11-12. We'll adjourn at Riverbend. Thank you.
Here it is. Here's another case where he took a life. A judge gives him 5-year sentence. 5 years. And within a year of getting out, he is caught up again. And again, I heard no remorse in that entire parole hearing. 0. He took a life. And, before Mr. Marabella shot out the facts of the case, I was kind of like, I didn't feel negativity towards him. I thought he was being very factual, very concise. He wasn't BSing anything. I thought it was a pretty decent interview. But then when you get down to the facts of what it is that he did, and that even his final statement wasn't like, it just didn't seem like there's anything there. Like, it's just very matter of fact. And I just don't understand that. But who's to blame? It's the system. That was when he got into this, when he drove his Camaro 100 miles an hour, way over the limit, and slammed into a car and killed, or as this article says, roasted Carol alive. That was 6 months after having a DUI. And even after that, having that record, February 2017, 2015, the defendant was operating a motor vehicle under the influence, traveling in excess of 100 miles per hour when he struck Carol Richards' vehicle, causing a fire and explosion. The vehicle then collided with another vehicle occupied by Karen, Christina, and Cynthia, causing injuries. He was sentenced November 3rd, 2016 by Judge David Smith. The defendant faced up to 30 years, but he got just 5. And Mr. Marabella said, I suspect that it was a deal that the family agreed to. And I got to tell you, I don't have that kind of faith in the system. I don't suspect that the family agreed to it. The case was prosecuted by First Assistant DA Daniel M. Landry III and was investigated by the Lafayette Police Department. 5 years. It's hard to understand that. It's like, why? Oh man. Now I know a 12-year sentence, but he only had to serve 5. And even with that laying over, it just shows like this guy, he even with it's like you're just at a loss for words. Really, I can't even. And it's not like it's not like he got a DUI 6 months prior. You know, if that doesn't wake you up. Um, During the emotional court hearing, the 15th Judicial District Judge David Smith heard testimony from 7 of Richard's close friends. That's the victim. Family members who, through tears, described the late, longtime Lafayette Parish School System employee as a beloved woman, an artist, and a giving soul. It's always the good ones that go. The woman who drove the 3rd car in the accident also testified, and she requested restitution to be paid. Good luck getting that. Chapman's parents also took the stand and testified their son had maintained sobriety since the crash. Okay. And described him as a caring brother to his special needs sister. They also took the stand and apologized. Well, they didn't show up at his parole hearing. And it was his 2nd DWI in 6 months, dude. Why would a judge think he needs leniency? It's not. It's crazy. 23-year-old Bryce Chapman of Lafayette was arrested and booked into Lafayette Parish Jail on charges of operating while intoxicated. 2nd offense, 1st-degree negligent injury, 2 counts, vehicular negligent injury, and vehicular homicide. And then how he was caught in the next. And thank you, Richard, for providing the information here. So he does the 5 years, and then when he's 28, so it's really, again, less than a year after getting released, he was sentenced to 72 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release for possession of a firearm and ammunition. On November 18th, the police officers responded to a report of 2 men unconscious in a car at a local gas station. Chapman was identified as the driver and was arrested after officers found him in possession of a .38 Special. That's, a revolver. Bryce Chapman has a prior felony conviction of court vehicular homicide. So you can't make it up. Less than a year, he's so messed up on. He passes out in a car as the driver because he's high. He has a weapon. Meanwhile, the guy's got skills. He's a plumber. He literally, like he even said, he can get a job 9 times out of 10. He can make good money. And he gets behind the wheel. And, it just goes to show, I guess, he on the release, they did try to, he had to wear a scram bracelet. He had to, all of these restrictions that they put into place. And it just goes to show he found a way to get around it. And the one thing where, of course, he wasn't being honest about was he wants to go to federal prison to start for better programs or whatever. But really, let's just be real. He wants to go there because he wants to start working on that time. He wants to work on that time so he can go home. It's not clear to me how much his federal time is, how much. So but yeah, he's, can you imagine that one day he will be free eventually? It's not clear to me the date when that's going to happen, but at least we are safe right now. But this hearing took place in 2021. And as far as I know, he's still locked up in Louisiana. But yeah, this is there are certain people that just can't be free because they're just a danger to everyone else, and we can't. What are you gonna say? With that, I'll let you go.